What's he asked us to do now? This looks interesting, but there's just so much to do. I can't do all of this in one go. He can't make me. I know my rights. Blah, blah, blah. And that's what I hear from my students all the time. So, here's a bit of help with that. Is now, and welcome to this tutorial on planning. During this lesson, you will learn why planning is important, the basic methods to help you plan, and software you could use to help you plan your project. Some vocabulary you might need to know. So structure is how parts of something are put together. Workflow is the flow or progress of work done. It will explain that a little bit more in a minute. And then inspire is to give someone an idea for a book, film, product, or maybe an image. Why plan? It's like a loaf of bread, isn't it? You wouldn't eat a loaf of bread in one go. You'd break your loaf of bread into smaller chunks or slices. Then you can just look at one slice at a time. Enjoy one slice at a time, or actually focus on one chunk of your project at a time. That means that by looking at your planning, you can focus on each individual chunk and know that you're not going to miss out chunks that you've forgotten because you were focusing on that particular chunk, because it's all listed down. So, some ideas of why to plan. Things that we're going to be looking at today are mood boards, work plans, storyboards, and mind maps. There's an example of those. First of all, mood boards. There's an example of a rather nice mood board. See how it's kind of staggered, vaguely arty, little bit random. I like randomness, but obviously put your mood board together as you want. So a mood board is a collection of images used to inspire a design from its colours, shapes, patterns and textures. Obviously textures not when you're using the computer, but if it's on paper you could maybe glue down fur or, I don't know, leaves, some sort of texture that you want to include in your design. An idea of what you might produce a mood board about. There's a rather pretty one. You can make a mood board about decorating a room. Things that you might think about perhaps are the walls, so breaking down the walls into colours, colours of paint, wallpaper perhaps, and then something that's rather trendy these days is decals or stickers. Yes, you put big stickers on your walls to make them more interesting. It's up to you, obviously. And then on the floor perhaps you could have carpets or no carpets, or some carpets, some rugs to break up floorboards, that kind of stuff, and then go on to furniture. Don't be limited by, don't know, cost or reality. Just paste things down that you might include in your room design. Next is work plans. There's an example of a work plan. A work plan is used to help plan how the work is going to be produced. So units of time versus tasks for your project. It helps you create a sensible workflow. I'll explain that in a sec. So you can see there are the lists of this parts of this project versus units of time. These tasks I think are for producing costumes for a performance, and the units of time are days. So you can see that some parts of this project go over a space of a few days, whereas some parts go over just the one. Yeah, Here's my example of a work plan. As you know, there's two ways of making tea. There's the wrong way, and then there's this way. Now it's up to you really. But here's a simple version of making a cup of tea. I'm put this together as a step-by-step project, in that each of these tasks happen after each other. So first one task, then the next task, then the next task. And then I came back and had a second look at it, and this time realised that some of these tasks, like for example boiling the water, means that you can do other things during the boiling of the water, because they aren't dependent on the water having boiled. So you can then sort of break it down, and even though it's really obvious, obviously because it's just making a cup of tea, this has helped me break down my my project and kind of reorder things very slightly, add a few bits into it, just improve it really. An idea of what you could produce a work plan about might be producing your favourite snack. So you could do this using a spreadsheet or a table in a document to help you break things up. And there's an example of my favourite snack, a cheese on toast. Next is mind maps. Mind maps are a way of recording ideas without worrying about which parts come in which order. You can just structure your ideas by grouping them together. So here's an example of a mind map that I've produced for my Year 9s to help planning with an advert. So for example, I put down some main branches, so main areas of dimensions, fonts, colours, etc., and then looked at each main area and broke that one down. So in dimensions I listed three sort of types of dimensions that you could use with adverts that would help them to fit into web pages. And then for fonts, indicated font size that I might use, styles that I might use, and then broke down colours by some ideas of colours that I might potentially use. Yes, only two of them, but hey. Here's an idea for creating a mind map. You could create one about your favourite interest or sport. There are millions of these mind map online creation apps. I used mindmapfree.com, but obviously other ones exist. Couple of tips with this one: drag the red dot up, down, left, right to create a branch, and then also to change a text on a branch, double click on it, and then I suggest for if you're doing sport, for example, some of your main areas might be equipment, competitors and practice, and then breaking down those main areas into smaller branches. You could perhaps choose types of equipment, cost of equipment, how long you will use the equipment for, whether it's single use or some sort of durable thing that you could use many times. Yeah, so obviously there's loads more that you could put into a mind map apart from that. Storyboards are next. There's an example of a storyboard of a video I made a little while ago. Broke it down into the main areas of by section. Not quite sure what I did with this number column. Camera angles or sounds that I featured in each clip, and then the words that I spoke to make up each video. And then the final one, if I included any images or videos, I'll put them in this column. Just a suggestion. There's also a visual way of doing it. So here's the storyboard that was used for Adventure Time, which is my friend's favourite cartoon of all. So, having seen all these ways of planning, is a summary of the ideas that you could do to practice these. So go back and have a look at the video for the details, but you could create a mood board for decorating a room, make a work plan for making your favourite snack, make a mind map for your favourite interest or sport, and then finally design a storyboard for going to school. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully that will help you with something that a lot of people find boring, because it's actually quite difficult. So hopefully that should give you some pointers. Now, as always, have a look outside if it's possible. Go out, have a walk, get some sunshine, and I shall see you on the next one.